Hey there, happy Tuesday, and welcome back, Bears fans, to another episode of the CHGO Bears Podcast, presented by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to get two risk-free bets up to $2,000. And how's it going, everybody? I want to thank you for joining us today as we kick off this week's slate of shows, and I hope that you and your families had a great and safe 4th of July weekend. I'm your host today, Will DeWitt. Joined with me is Nicholas Moreano, who is sporting a slightly different look, different camera, and well, if you're watching, I think you can tell right away what's going on.
What happened?
You have to blame Mr. Moreano for looking at me. He couldn't take it anymore, you guys. The mustache, he's like, you just gotta shave it off. I had family members come over on Saturday, like you look like a cheap porn star. Like, you just need to take that off. And I'm like, I get that from my uncles, my aunts, my friends' mom and dad. I'm like, all right, okay. I guess I have to shave it off. But I was telling you guys before we went live, like, most likely my mustache will be back by Friday, if not Saturday at the latest.
Oh man, the chat is already upset with you.
Where's the stash? I look like I'm 12. Yeah, see, that's the thing. I can look like I'm older with the mustache, or shave it off completely. It's 12 years old, and then just the beard is probably normal.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Can never win.
See, I felt bad for the caterpillar comment last week, and I was like sitting after the show, I'm like, was that too far? But at least I didn't call you a cheap porn star on air.
Yeah.
Well, my uncle's like, oh, you're gonna come out like pizza delivery is here. That's some crazy action. I was like, no, I'm not.
I don't know if I want to hang out at the Moreano family parties. You guys are vicious.
A lot of tequila. So if you like tequila, Lawrence, my mom's the queen.
Okay, I'll be right over then.
Perfect.
Tequila doesn't make me angry or anything. It does the opposite. Very caring when I have some tequila, to say the least. But Nick, the stash is gone. Anything else new throughout the weekend?
No, other than the stash being gone, that's about it. And that was apparently my Stephanie, my girlfriend, recorded me. I was on another level on Saturday, so I guess I said like, oh, the world's gonna be unhappy that this is happening. So I shaved out the mustache. She has a video. I might share that later. We'll see.
Where's
but
the video?
I know. She sent it through Snapchat. I think it disappeared
Snapchat?
after.
Kids still use Snapchat? What the hell's going on around here?
Of course. You gotta have Snapchat. No, just me.
I don't know. I'm an old man. I don't understand the concept. Never really got into it anyways, but I feel like that was many years ago when that was a thing.
No, it's still a thing. It's still it's still there. I still use it.
There's still an app, and people still use it. At least people who talk to Nick still use it.
Yes. Yep. Those are the only people.
So I wanted to kind of take just a moment, just to kind of start off today's show, to kind of pass, our thoughts for the families that were affected in Highland Park. 6 people were killed in another mass shooting, and when you look too, like, it's all over the country. Philadelphia, Kenosha had something going on yesterday, on Independence Day of all days, and I don't know, Nick. We don't usually use this platform to kind of share some things, but this is big and it continues to go on. And I don't know when enough is enough for us as a whole to look at ourselves and figure out how we can make this a better place for everyone to live. But it's just scary times yet again. And I just don't even know. I don't even know what to say because I can't fix it. It takes all of us collectively to figure this out. But I was driving all day yesterday and I got home and I saw the news and my heart just continued to break.
Yeah, so Steffi and I, my girlfriend, we were actually going to the gym, and then the person right next to us said there was a mass shooting in Highland Park. And immediately you're in shock. Like, that's 10 minutes away from where we were at. I live 20 minutes from Highland Park. My dad and my youngest brother were actually on a bike ride that morning. They were planning on heading to Highland Park. That was like going to be their route, but my younger brother said, oh, let's go in the opposite direction. So they thankfully, went away from where everything was happening. And if you're a Bears fan, you follow Great Bears coverage. Kevin Fishbane from The Athletic actually had a thread. He was there with his family, with his child. That's the first parade they've ever been to. Has to take his child and run. And it's like, it's fucked up. And, we don't talk about, obviously on this platform, it's mostly Bears, but it's becoming so common that you can't even go to a parade, something where there's children and just, it's supposed to be a lively event, and that happens. And there's new details coming out that the shooter dressed up in women's clothing has been planning this out for weeks, and it's like I don't know, just the past couple of months, you just realize how many messed up people there are. And what's even more messed up is that these people that are crazy and have evil in their heart have access to these high-powered weapons
Mm-hmm.
that have no reason to be in society whatsoever. And that's what pisses me off so much. And we do this every time we talk about it. Nothing changes. And
Yep.
then maybe a month from now, it's like we're using this platform again to talk about these things that are honestly a part of the norm. And that is so messed up to
That's the
say that.
problem.
Yes, it's so messed up that it is the norm now. You can't go anywhere. A grocery store, a parade, a kindergarten school. Like, nothing is safe anymore. And it's so fucked up, and I'm so tired of it.
Yeah, I think you said it really well there, Nick. It's a multifaceted issue. It's a mental health issue that we're facing in this country, and it's a weapon access issue. And we got to figure out, people who have more power than you and I do need to figure this out for the betterment of the entire country. It's just I couldn't believe it, yet I could, and that's it's disturbing that we're at that point. But I think we should drop it there because, again, we can probably have a whole podcast about that.
We could.
But again, and I appreciate Riles appreciating that we took some time here to address it, because I thought it would be a miss if we just kind of brushed it under the rug. We can't do that, especially when it's in our own backyard in Highland Park. It's a safe area generally. And it's not because people I've had people who live, around where I'm at, like, oh, it's just Chicago. I'm like, no, this is not just Chicago. This is a very affluent northern suburb that, and not even excusing what happens in other areas of Chicago, but still it's not what you expect in that area of Chicagoland.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I saw a lot of, I guess people were putting that in the headlines. Chicago. No, it's not. Like, where the shooter was actually arrested, that's the route. That's the road, Route 41, that I take 3 days a week to go to the CHGO studio. Like, I saw exactly where I'm like, I know where that's at. That's that close, which is crazy. But I'm glad we did talk about it. And again, prayers and thoughts to everyone involved and for the 6 people who unfortunately lost their lives.
Yes. Now, we have a game to preview here today, and this week's opponent, we're up to week 11 already, which is crazy because it feels like yesterday we just started this thing, but we have to talk about the Atlanta Falcons, aka, the Bears of the South. And Nick, I was in Atlanta all weekend scouting, so I feel really prepared for this episode.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how was that trip? Like, have you been to Atlanta before this past weekend, or was this the first time?
Yeah, first time in Atlanta. I've driven through it. I actually had a $400 speeding ticket when I was 19 in Atlanta. It was only 10 over, and it's the most bogus thing I've ever happened in my entire life. Like, 10 over, really? $400? Get out of here. But we got to take our baby to go meet his great grandpa. And as some people listening know, I'm William the Fourth of the lineage of my family. My baby is William Frederick DeWitt the Fifth. And number 5, got to meet great grandpa, who is number 2. That's my dad came along, so all 4 of the Williams who are alive got together for a few different days, and it was a really special moment. And it was kind of neat to see the baby just automatically kind of take to his great grandpa. Like, those instincts are there, like you just kind of know. And grandpa played his guitar, and he was telling us more about his parents, which are maybe my great grandparents, and they died when I was 7, 8. So I didn't know them too well. Don't remember too much, but I guess my great grandma was a Cubs fan. My great grandpa was a Sox fan. And this is back in the day of a 1 TV household. And when both teams played at the same time, there were some arguments to be had at the DeWitt household of what game was the one to put on the TV. But yeah, it was a good time to say the least. But I don't want to get into everything we did because that would be yet another episode. But the fact that we had all 4 of us Williams together, I think is a really special moment for me and my family. And I got the inside scoop on the Falcons, which I think is most appropriate here today on the episode. So let's go ahead and bring up the graphic. Let's look at the Falcons from last season. They were 7-10, third in the NFC South. Their head coach is Arthur Smith, who's entering the 2nd year as head coach with the team. If you look at some of those key additions, quarterback Marcus Mariota, tight end Anthony Frisker, edge Lorenzo Carter, and of course, they lost some players too. Quarterback Matt Ryan, longtime Pro Bowler there, is no longer on the team. He's over in Indianapolis. Linebacker Foyesade Oluokun is gone as well, who was, I think, the leading tackler in the entire NFL last season. And they also lost cornerback Fabian Moreau. Nick, do you want to hit on some of those key rookies of that draft class? Because there were a few.
Yeah, there definitely are some guys that should contribute. You look at wide receiver Drake London out of USC being the Falcons' first pick in the first round. You have let's see, I wrote down how to pronounce this man's last name just because I needed to figure this out. Obviously, you have Arnold, and it's Ebikadi from
Yes,
Penn State. There we
Ebikadi.
go.
Good
There we
job.
go. Yes, got it down. I had to listen to that like 4 times. And then linebacker Troy Anderson, who I really liked. He was the linebacker out of Montana State who played on offense, did a bunch of different things, but super athletic, can be a guy that can definitely contribute to that Atlanta Falcons defense year one. And then you have quarterback Desmond Ridder, who, if you're looking at the quarterback situation in Atlanta, yes, they have Marcus Mariota, but maybe Desmond Ridder is a wild card later on the season. So they definitely added some guys that in year one could definitely make some contributions.
Yeah, I was looking at an article today from The Athletic about really their quarterback situation. You know,
Mhm.
Mariota has 61 career starts. He hasn't started a game since 2019. And I apologize. It was actually on ESPN. I was reading a few different articles to catch up here today. ESPN Falcons beat writer Michael Rothstein was looking at like, hey, when could we see Ritter? And one of the games that he suggested would be this Bears-Falcons matchup because the Falcons play a Thursday nighter the week before. So you have a little extra time to prepare for that first career start for a third-round quarterback. And they mentioned, like, yeah, Mariota's struggling throughout the most of the season. And they're looking, all right, when can we get this rookie in there to give him, evaluation? This week 11 matchup against the Bears was the very first one listed in that article. So who knows? Maybe this would be a game in which the Bears see a rookie quarterback. And I guess regardless, I'm not fearful of Mariota or Ritter in this matchup. But when you look at this offense, Nick, what stands out to you heading into this week 11 matchup? So much can change between now and then, but as it stands today.
I think when I'm looking at this Falcons team as it currently stands, obviously you look at that quarterback situation, but outside of Drake London, Will, like, who is Mariota or whether it's Ritter really throwing to? Yes, you have Kyle Pitts, who had a fantastic first rookie season, but you no longer have Russell Gage. As Cordell Patterson automatically the number 2, like a guy that obviously Bears fans are very familiar with. So, and obviously Calvin Ridley is not a part of the situation for the entire year, being suspended for the gambling. So there's not too many weapons on that side. And then when you look at the running back situation, it's Patterson who was the leading rusher for that team. Then Mike Davis, another former Bear. So it's an interesting team that, and I was reading a lot of the Athletic articles too on the Falcons. They say they're not doing a rebuild. They won't say that, but just you look at the roster and how it currently stands, it is an uphill battle, I would say, in terms of what they're bringing to the table. But obviously, you can never overlook any opponent, especially if you're the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, you really can't. And when you look at those weapons, you mentioned no Calvin Ridley. You can't gamble on your own team. That's just a no-no. Please don't do that. Lost Russell Gage, 770 yards, 4 touchdowns a year ago. And like I said, Kyle Pitts was the leading receiver. I would expect that to happen yet again. They traded for Brian Edwards out of the Raiders. So he kind of came with Marcus Mariota. So they have some familiarity, at least practicing with one another. He has a career average of 17 yards per catch. On The Athletic, there's an article from Josh Kendall who mentioned that Edwards ran 136 go routes last year, which is the 18th most in the entire NFL. And the Falcons last year as a team were the 31st ranked team in terms of running go routes. They didn't have a true deep threat on the team. Edwards gives them that guy. So that's someone when you're looking at what should Bears fans expect out of him. Brian Edwards is kind of like their deep threat player. And then you mentioned one of the guys already too, with Drake London, 6'4", 220-pound receiver, has good speed, decent route runner. And he's someone that we looked into a little bit as a potential option for the Bears as well when we're just doing our homework, off and on. And he's someone that I would expect to jump in and have to be like, just looking at the roster, he has to be an instant contributor right away for this Falcons offense. Which, by the way, you remember who their coordinator is, right?
For the Atlanta Falcons, remind me.
Mm-hmm. Dave
Ragone. Yes. I was just about to I know this.
You should.
What former Bear is it? What former Bears member is it?
Yeah, but which former Bear is here? But yeah, quarterbacks coach 2016 to 19, passing game coordinator last 2 years ago for the Bears 2020, and now he's offensive coordinator. Like we've seen this guy's rise firsthand, and now he's able to handle an offense there in Atlanta with not a lot of weapons, which is something he unfortunately is kind of used to.
Yeah, when you come from the Chicago Bears organization, that is something that you do have to get used to. Another interesting note about like the wide receivers that the Atlanta Falcons are going to be throwing out this season on the Athletic, one of the articles had stated that like if you look at 2021 and like the size of the wide receivers, there's like 6'2", 6'1", 6'1", 6 feet and 5'8". That's who they were throwing out there. This season, as you kind of mentioned, Drake London, their roster looks complete. It's more like a basketball team in terms of the weapons that they'll be throwing to. You have a guy, and he just lists the heights of these players: 6'5", 6'5", 6'3", 6'2", 6'2", 6'1", and so on and so forth. So a much larger, I guess, wide receiver or just targets for Mariota, Ritter, whoever it is that's going to be playing quarterback this season to actually, give the ball to. So you got to factor in that height as something that the Bears are also going to have to battle once they face them in Week 11.
That's a really good point. That'll be an interesting test, just the height that they're going to be bringing to the table, regardless who's under center for them. As we look at it, and again, it's interesting in so many different ways, that running back room. Yet again, you mentioned Cordero Patterson being their leading rusher. He had over 1,100 scrimmage yards and 11 touchdowns on offense last year. And for a guy that the Bears couldn't figure out what to do with, and he struggled in so many ways, for him to go to Atlanta and burst on the scene like he did was good for him to watch. It kind of sucks as a Bears fan knowing like you had that guy in your roster and you couldn't figure things out with him. But his end of the season wasn't great. Only 71 rushing yards over the last 4 games of the year. He kind of fell off a bit down the stretch, but they're still banking on a big season out of him. They have Damien Williams on the roster. Yes. Bears fans remember him from last year. He only got 40 carries with the team a season ago. And then they drafted rookie Tyler Algier, 5th round running back out of BYU, who had a back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. I know the vibe in Atlanta is that they can develop him into a 3-down back. They're not expecting him to be that guy immediately. But that is someone that by the time you get to Week 11, he could be carving out a role for him on offense as well. That typical 3-down back, receiving skills, powerful in between the tackles is what you get out of Tyler there. But I don't know, Nick. I just don't find myself really sweating many bullets when I at least look at the Falcons on offense.
Yeah, and honestly, the same could be said about defense before we get there, though. And like you said, you just mentioned the running back they drafted. I mentioned Mike Davis, who no longer is on the Falcons team this season, was there last year, was their second leading rusher, but now he's with the Baltimore Ravens. So it's going to be a lot of young guys that, very similar to the Bears, right? A lot of young guys are going to have to contribute, especially on this side of the ball. And when you have a Marcus Mariota, and fine, he's okay, like a serviceable backup, but now being thrust into the starting role. Let's see what he can now do. Now that this is, for now, his team going into training camp and for at least the beginning of the season. But yeah, it's a lot of young weapons, and if you're looking for some of the teams that don't bring as much to the table, this would definitely be one of them. And you look at some of the teams like they beat last season, Will, and they did have 7 wins in that NFC South. Here's who they beat: the Giants, Jets, Dolphins, Saints, Jaguars, Panthers, and Lions. And then they had a 2-week stretch against the Cowboys and Patriots when they lost 68-3. So they got whooped for a majority of the season. And then that kind of leads into the conversation about this defense, where they're not very good either. Well, there's a lot of stats that we could pull up about this Falcons defense, what they couldn't do, and why that can maybe present some opportunities for the Bears.
Oh, like couldn't stop offenses giving up 27 points per game last year, which was the 3rd most in the league. They couldn't stop them in terms of yardage either, 25th in the NFL, allowing 364 yards per game. And I think the one stat that really glares at me still is those sacks. 18. Yeah. A measly 18 sacks last year. Dead last.
Robert Quinn had more. Robert Quinn had 18 and a half.
Oh, my God. Wow. I didn't even put that together. He had more sacks by himself than the entire Atlanta Falcons defense a year ago. Defensive coordinator Dean Pease, he is the oldest coordinator in the league and one of the oldest coaches in NFL history. I don't know if he's a little out of touch or if he's a little checked out. He's still here, so the Falcons must believe he's going to be able to provide them with something. I know last year he just didn't have a lot to work with either, so I'm not going to totally rip him to shreds. He just didn't have many tools in the toolbox to actually go out and deploy, but that's why they brought in Lorenzo Carter to give more sacks. He had only 5 sacks last year and 31 pressures in 14 games, but all 5 of those sacks did come in the final 4 games of the season for the Giants. Carter did. So he is someone that was playing some really good football down there as well. And then they drafted that rookie Arnold. How did you get it? Come on.
Ebiketie? There you go.
Ebiketie. I had to scroll up for my pronunciation guide as well on my notes. Ebiketie is someone that, I guess, by just looking at the depth, he's going to be thrown into the fire, and he's going to have to be able to produce right away for them as well. People are very excited about his potential for him to make an early impact, and I can see why as well. When we're looking at this defense, is there anything else that just doesn't, give you any issues? I know their linebacking core is one that I look at. I'm like,
Yeah, and that too, like you talked about, like Ebiketie's got to be a guy that contributes. Lorenzo Carter, who didn't really pan out with the New York Giants, has to contribute. And they lost Dante Fowler Jr. to the Dallas Cowboys. He had the most sacks in that team with 4.5. You also look at Alokin, whatever, the linebacker had the most tackles in the league. He also actually contributed 2 sacks for them. So you're losing guys that had some production for this Atlanta Falcons team, and now you are replacing it with guys that obviously rookie. You need to see what they can be in terms of Arnold Ebiketie, and then Lorenzo Carter, see if he can be an upgrade or be serviceable there. I do like the cornerback out of Clemson, AJ Terrell, being that former first-round draft pick in 2020, had 16 passes defended, so he's a good defender for them. Also, you look at some of their safeties that they have. They, made some plays here and there. They also had Tajay Sharp, right? Or no? Yeah, for a little bit of the season. Tajay Sharp, someone who's now on the Bears, but that's going back to offense. I see him. Well, the reason why I'm looking here, I'm looking at defense, and Tajay Sharp is in the tackles category.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and he's not even that far down. I'm like, wait, what the hell? Why do I see Tajay Sharp here? Like, let's see how he made, I guess one total. The sacks. So I characterized in the sacks, so that's why Tajay Sharp is kind of up there with 0. But I mean, it was a bad defense last season, a bad team, and that's why, this is a game, even though it's on the road for the Bears have a good shot. Like, they really do, against a team that doesn't have many weapons. They're not saying they're rebuilding. Similar to the Bears, they're not saying they're rebuilding, but man, there's a lot of work to be done on just what the Falcons need to do.
They do. I like the cornerback group. You mentioned, AJ Terrell. He had 81 tackles to go with those 16 PBUs and 3 interceptions. That was only his second year. And that was a big leap that he took in year 2 for Atlanta. His passer rating allowed his rookie year was 109. Last season, it dropped down to 47.5. It's like this kid kind of came to his own a bit. In year 3, I would expect him to kind of continue what he's able to play. It's the second highest PFF coverage grade for all cornerbacks, right behind Jalen Ramsey, to kind of put that into perspective for Bears fans here. They also brought in Casey Hayward, who had a really good season last year, 7 PBUs, an interception, only allowing a 50% completion rate when targeted. So he's, at least that's an area where I can see them matching up against the Bears, but the defensive line doesn't worry me. When I saw that, Alukin, who went to the Jaguars, by the way, led the entire NFL with 192 tackles. And Deion Jones, who was not playing well last year, had 130 tackles. Just screams that the defensive line was not doing their job at all. If the linebackers had to clean up, that much themselves. And they'll have 2 new starting linebackers, whether it be rookie Troy Anderson, as you mentioned. They did bring in Nick Kwiatkowski, a former Bear, as well as Rashaan Evans from the Titans. So there will be maybe a little mini battle for them for those positions as well. But yeah, that's really it. Slot corner, Isaiah Oliver missed 13 games last year, so they're going to be excited. He's back. He was a decent player. So if I'm looking at a position of strength, it's going to be that cornerback room for this Falcons defense.
The one guy I will mention, and we do have to mention his name because he can cause problems, is Grady Jarrett. That is a guy that can, get in the interior, whether it's whoever's at right guard or, he did have a couple of good one-on-one matchups the last time the Bears played the Falcons in Atlanta. So that's a guy that if he's healthy at this point in the season, you're looking at that's the guy that you need to block on any given play because he can really cause some havoc and get in the backfield. So Grady Jarrett's I think the one defender that you look at everywhere. Obviously, we talked about AJ Terrell, but Grady Jarrett can get to the quarterback and cause some havoc.
Good call. Glad you brought him up. Real quickly, let's look at all the former Bears on this team just to throw it into perspective. At least this is the list I was able to come up with. Nick, if there's anyone I'm missing, let me know. But I got Demir Bird, Jermaine Ifedi, Nick Witkowski, Cordero Patterson. I'm throwing Rashad Smith in there. I know he didn't get to play for the Bears, but he was a UDFA that signed. They had a really good preseason, and then the Steelers poached him after the fact. He didn't clear waivers. Tease Tabor, Elijah Wilkinson, and Damien Williams is the current list. I know there used to be more, but I think they kind of got pruned a bit.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through quickly the roster, see if anybody else comes up that you didn't mention. Did you mention Jermaine Ifedi? I think you did.
Yes.
Okay, yep. So I think that's still a lot of former
still a lot.
Bears, though. It's crazy. Like, hey, let's bring you to this team and see what you can do here. But it's I think you got them all there, Will. Not unless maybe they might add someone later. Who knows?
Ryan Pace. You want to talk about Ryan Pace?
Player.
I meant on the field. Players.
Oh, okay. Because you can
Ryan
also
Pace,
add Dave
Mullins.
Ragone.
Yeah,
Ragone, Phil Emery, Ryan Pace. It's all over.
Jeez, the Chicago Falcons or Atlanta Bears. That's what this whiteboard is for.
Well, it's Atlanta Bears. We can't be the Chicago Falcons because they play in Atlanta.
Sure. Never mind.
So I'm going to go with Atlanta Bears. Lawrence, if you don't mind, can we throw up those points bet numbers real quickly for some people? And I can ramble those off real quick. So just getting an idea of what our partners at PointsBet and what they're kind of expecting out of the Falcons this year. Their odds to win the Super Bowl is sitting at plus 25,000, which is the second biggest odds, I guess, because they're ranked 31st in terms of that as well. To win the NFC, they're at plus 10,000, which is dead last in the conference, even a little bit worse than the Bears. Plus 2,500 to win the NFC South, which is fourth. And their over-under this year set at 4.5 wins. So they're definitely expecting some serious regression as the Falcons go throughout this rebuild. The over for that is at negative 105, and the under is at minus 115. And, looking at those numbers and talking about PointsBet just wants me to remind everyone that the best way that they can support CHGO is to download the PointsBet app and use that code CHGO when you sign up. And if you do that right now, you get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. But that's not it. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content. And you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. That's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free t-shirt from the CHGO locker, all for making a more than $50 first-time deposit at PointsBet. If you have any questions, feel free to email pointsbet@allchgo.com, and our team will help you out. Your home for live in-play betting just got even better. See an edge in the game that you're watching? Is your favorite team primed for a comeback? Don't just watch the game, bet along with it live. More live betting, more live markets, and faster live cash out. So follow along with your bets the moment they hit and stay in the action all game long. So download the PointsBet app right now and use that promo code CHGO. So what are you waiting for? It's time to elevate your live betting game. Once the game starts, don't just bet, live your bet life with PointsBet. If you or someone has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER for crisis counseling and referral services.
All right, Chicago sports fans, if you aren't a member of our CHGO family at this point, I don't know, what are you waiting for? Are you waiting for the start of the season? You're going to miss all the training camp coverage? Better get to that right now. Members will have access to all of our premium content from all of our great writers. You also get a free t-shirt of your choice when you become a member. You can see if you're watching the sweet CHGO Skyline one. I have that one purchased. I cannot wait until that gets here. And you get access to the members-only Discord, the CHGO Lounge. And of course, we have podcasts and live shows on every team, every day. So come join this amazing family that is constantly growing here at CHGO.
All right, you're listening to the CHGO Bears Podcast. I'm Will DeWitt, joined by Nicholas Moreano. We are previewing this Bears Week 11 matchup against the Atlanta Bears. See how I just threw it in there. So casual. It works out well. And I know I just mentioned PointsBet, and we've talked about it for a few minutes now, but I have the play of the week, POTW.
POTW. Yep.
Am I rolling with it? It's me.
Oh yeah. That's what I
Nice.
call it.
I like it. So for me, I was looking and I didn't want to go with baseball. And I was like, we're talking about this Bears Falcons game. Let's find something that fits. So I was looking through some NFL futures and odds, and I saw that Drake London's total receiving yards right now, it's set at 769.5 with the under over both set at minus 115. We already mentioned no Russell Gage, who had 770 yards last year. He's gone. No Calvin Ridley. And I don't know if mentioning him in his points bet app is, good right now because how all things are shaking out with him. But outside of Kyle Pitts, it has to be London just getting a ton of looks for this Falcons offense. 4 rookies last year had 770 or more yards receiving last season. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. Jalen Waddle did it last year. He had Tua and Jacoby Brissett throwing the ball down there in Miami. Amon-Ra St. Brown did it last year, and he had Jared Goff throwing him the football in Detroit. So Marcus Mariota, I don't think he'd be much of a handicap here. The Falcons may not be able to run the ball well. We looked at that running back room. They should be playing from behind a lot. So to me, I just feel like this is an easy over for Drake London over here. I know, Nick, you had a slight disagreement, though, in the pre-meeting before this show, huh? You wanted to go with the under.
Yeah, 769.5, correct? That's the number there. Yep. It's a nice number, 769. I'm going under though. I just don't. I just have to see what Marcus Mariota is about, and if they have a quarterback change, it's very similar to just what Miami had a couple quarterbacks play last year, and yes, Jalen Waddle was able to get it, but man, like it's Kyle Pitts on one end, Drake London on the other. It's not gonna. I think it might be right around there. It could be right around there, Will, and I could see how it could get to the over, but I would take the under on this just because we just talked about the lack of weapons that Atlanta has, and they have them regressing to the 4.5 wins on the season for a reason. I don't know if this is just going to be a very good offense, regardless of who's playing quarterback and the lack of weapons. So for me, I'm going under.
Okay, I just like, even though they may not have the weapons, they may not have the best quarterback situation, I expect them to be passing the ball a lot. And I expect a lot of those passes to go Drake London's way because, like you said, someone has to catch them. And I believe that if they want to see what London's all about in his rookie season, which they will, I can easily see him getting 100 targets this year. And if he does, I think he easily will hit the over. But I like that we have slightly different, I guess, perspectives and assumptions about how this year is going to go for Drake London. And exactly, Dark Onyx, somebody has to catch the ball at some point. We've seen in Chicago, we've seen guys have a decent amount of yards, not be able to do much outside of it. And it may be meaningless yards, but when it comes to betting, it doesn't matter what the yards, the substance behind them, as long as he kind of racks them up. But what are you looking at? You look like you're in full investigation mode.
I am. I just kind of wanted to see what did Darnell Mooney have in his first. Okay, 631 in a crappy offense with. Yeah, no, I was just looking at wide receivers and maybe he could get there. He's a very talented wide receiver, and with that big body and radius, I could see it. I also see Cody's comment here. R.I.P. Nick Stash. I know, gone.
Yep,
gone forever,
Cody.
But never
great personality on our Cubs podcast here at CHGO. Awesome. Paying homage to Nick Stash there, at least sending some condolences to, I guess, your face.
I guess so. Yeah. Well, yep. He'll be back.
All right. So we've kind of poo-pooed on the Falcons throughout the last 25 minutes or so here. So I feel like where this is going to go. But, Nick, I have to ask, as of now, who do you have winning this game?
I know back in our schedule preview when it first came out, I had the Bears winning this one. I still have the Bears winning this game. It's a very winnable game. And I know a lot of Bears fans agree. So still sticking with the Bears coming out with the W in this one.
Same. I don't believe I even thought twice about it. As I was doing this preview, should I change it? No. To me, I'm not going to say there's no way the Bears lose because any given Sunday in the NFL, the margin's closer than a lot of people think. However, I think the Bears are the better team on paper. I think they'll be a better coach team at this point. And once we get to week 10, week 11 here, I expect this Bears offense to be, I don't know, not rolling 100%, but I think playing at a higher level than we've seen in, some time here in this Bears defense. The same thing. The Bears are just a better team any way you slice it. And so I'll give them the edge here so far. All right, I think that's going to do it for our Falcons preview, which leads us to our next segment here, which is my player preview. And today I have a wide receiver to share with you all, and it's going to be Byron Pringle, one of the new guys in town coming over from Kansas City, where he had a season full of career highs, 5 receiving touchdowns in a regular season, 42 catches, 568 yards, averaging over 13 yards per catch. My advanced stat to know, I want to share it here today. It's his pass rating when targeted was 135.5 last year. That was the third best in the NFL among receivers who saw at least 46 targets. And I know he was playing with a damn good quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, but his pass rating, Mahomes was the highest when he did throw to Byron Pringle last season. When you look at what he did last year, towards the end, I thought he played really well. He had 2 really good games against the Pittsburgh Steelers, both towards the end of the regular season and yet again in a wild card round against them. Each of those contests, he had 2 receiving touchdowns as well, both week 16 and in a wild card. And when I look at Pringle's season and what he brings to the table, he's someone that it's a consistent theme. He's a receiver that can make things happen after the catch, better than a lot of the Bears were able to do last season. He's a player that can be effective at all 3 levels of the field, whether it's in a short, intermediate, or as a deep threat as well. And throughout Kansas City, he's someone who got better each and every season. So Bears general manager Ryan Poles, who was working in Kansas City, got to kind of see his rise, firsthand. And that's why he's bringing him in Chicago. Not to be the receiver we saw last year either. Like, he's bringing him in on a 1-year prove-it deal to say, hey, show me you have not reached your ceiling just yet. That you still have more underneath, potential to tap into in a larger role. And that's what he's coming into Chicago to do, become the Bears wide receiver 2. He saw 60 targets last year. By no means do I expect him to see less than 80 targets in this defense, this offense this year for the Bears. The question I have is, can he make those additional targets and touches meaningful? Because it's one thing to get more looks, get more, chances, but if his production's about the same, then that's not really moving the needle for me. I need him to be able to take those targets and move them into being impactful in this Bears offense. He's joining Darnell Mooney, who had 1,000 yards last year. Cole Kmet was only 63 yards away from being a top 10 tight end last year too. And so he does have some players to work with. It's not like he's going from 2 All-Pros to 2 guys that are up and coming youngsters, but I still think he can be a serviceable option here for the Bears, who I don't expect has reached his ceiling just yet. And I know I mentioned he's on that prove it deal, and I think he will prove it. Byron Pringle will here right now. He'll play with a chip on his shoulder. I know he has some of the off the field, that little issue with, doing donuts in a parking lot. To me, that's not an issue whatsoever at this stage. But if I'm looking for a prediction, I'm giving him 63 catches on 90 targets, 820 yards and 6 touchdowns, which is a modest jump up from last season. When you look at Byron Pringle, what questions do you have, or what's your expected outlook for him in this Bears offense?
I think the big thing with Byron Pringle is everyone's trying to figure out, well, what can he do now that he's not in Kansas City's offense? And you mentioned all the great players he's playing with, and obviously Patrick Mahomes, a quarterback that he had. But I went back and watched the Week 16 game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of what he did so well in that game is from individual effort and not so much about the guys that he's playing with. There's plays, Will, where he's just blocking along the boundary on it was 2nd and 7. It was a screen pass. Byron Pringle, he's the blocker. He makes a hell of a block to, it was Hardman, the wide receiver. He's able to go around the block and get a first down. That's all just individual effort from Byron Pringle. One of the touchdowns he scores is a scramble drill where Byron Pringle needs to be on the same exact page as Patrick Mahomes, and individual effort, just knowing which way to go and how to get himself open. The second touchdown he scores in that game, it's a slant route. He's still, maybe 13 yards away from the end zone. He makes one guy miss with a stiff arm, and then is able to duck under 2 guys. Again, individual effort that he's showing that made those plays work. So despite having the talented players around him, it's still what he did. And now if he can bring that same mentality on this 1-year prove-it deal that you mentioned to a team that is in need of people to make those individual type plays, then you can see how this can work and why Ryan Poles brought him into Chicago to help elevate this wide receiving core. And there's been plays in these mini camp OTAs where he's open on these over routes. He's showing that speed. He's showing that ability to catch. And I think if he's able to bring that mentality that I just saw in Week 16 against Pittsburgh, and even in the second game, in the wild card game, like that's going to translate. That's going to work, and that's how you can see more meaningful reps, like you were talking about, Will, and how he could be a nice complementary piece to a Darnell Mooney. So there are a lot of things that I like from Byron Pringle, and the Bears obviously decided, hey, let's give this guy a 1-year prove-it deal and see how it can work out in our offense with Luke Getsy and Justin Fields.
I like how you put it in terms of the individual effort. I think that's a great way of explaining, what type of player he is in terms of like the intensity that he likes to play with, and he doesn't loaf. And in this offense, in this team now, like you're not going to be able to do that anyway. But there were times I would say over the last few seasons when you're watching the Bears, like the screen games that never worked, and not getting the blocking downfield to spring either the running backs or some of these receivers with the balls in their hands. He's going to help that. Like he's going to help Darnell Mooney because he's going to be able to seal some defenders downfield and extend some of these plays, allow Mooney get that one additional block to, make something else happen. Or maybe a Velus Jones Jr. too, another player that's expected to get the ball out in his hands pretty quickly. And so then if you have Pringle downfield blocking, that's just going to make his job easier too. Same thing with some of these runs that, hopefully we're talking about runs that can get 5, 6, 7 yards downfield. And if you have that additional block on the edge, on the outside from a receiver, it just makes those running backs' jobs so much easier as they can continue to make some of those plays even bigger in this offense. And the Bears have lacked explosive plays for years. Having a guy who's really good at blocking downfield should really help that as well. And we've seen Allen Robinson do it in the past, set some of those plays up before, but I don't know if I saw those same sorts of plays from number 12 last year for the Bears. There were times where I thought just let a guy go. And so having someone that's really up there blocking downfield and those edges really should help a lot. And I just wanted to mention what I meant by like make those targets count. Like I was thinking like Tariq Cohen, right? Like the 2018 season when he had 71 catches and he was able to get to the end zone 5 different times, over 730 yards. Great. And then next year he had more catches, 79 catches. His targets went up too by 15, but his yards went down. His yards per catch almost got cut in half. Like we can't have that happen. Pringle can't get more looks and have his yards per catch, yards per reception dip that much. He needs to be able to still be a guy that can get double digits yards per reception despite having a larger role. That's what I was kind of getting to there, and just want to make sure I kind of put that in a stronger light.
It's a good point. I feel like a lot of those times too where you get the empty yardage, the empty production is when you're getting blown out in games, right? When you have to dink and dunk down the field and maybe score a meaningless touchdown, and you don't want that to be the case for Byron Pringle. You want the catches that he does make, the hopefully the touchdowns that he catches to be when the game is still in play, when the Bears are still trying to make something out of it. So that would be the best case scenario for a Byron Pringle, for this Bears offense, and Justin Fields ultimately.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot that Pringle brings the Bears that Chicago has needed for years at the position. And speaking about giving someone what they need, Nick, I think you have a message for our listeners from our pals at Owen.
Yes, and actually, speaking of Owen, they just got delivered outside my doorstep, so I'm going to get those after this podcast here. Thank you, Amazon. Our next partnership is from one of my personal favorites, Owen, which stands for Only What You Need. This brand is a 100% plant-based protein company that gives you high-quality and carefully selected ingredients to keep you functioning throughout your entire workday, and especially after those intense workouts. In these protein shakes, you get your vegan omega-3s, your green superfoods like broccoli, kale, and spinach, and all these amazing ingredients reinforce what Owen stands for, only what you need. I've been using Owen for the last 2 years. We at CHGO have been using it now. Got everybody hooked, and the Pro Elite Chocolate Shake, easily my personal favorite. And what's cool about Owen, first heard about them from Chicago Bears quarterback Justin Fields, who does follow a plant-based diet. Owen and CHGO have partnered up to give you an awesome offer. When you use the code CHGO20, you get 20% off your first purchase at liveowen.com. Again, that is 20% off with the code CHGO20 at liveowen.com. So join us here at CHGO and Justin Fields and try Owen, only what you need.
And I just want to make people know, like, if you're not a member of CHGO yet, and Nick just asked you to do it like 20 minutes ago, if you still haven't joined, come on, man. Like, let's do this thing already. We're building something special here at CHGO. And, you see all these podcasts every single day, not just this Bears one, but on every single team here in Chicago. I'm looking forward to getting back to post-game shows. Like, that's been something I've been doing since 2015. And, we're doing them right now. You have Cubs and Sox, but by golly, like, I am looking forward to seeing how lit those post-game shows are going to be once this Bears season rolls around. And Nick hit on that premium written content for all members on allchgo.com. I've been cranking out free content too for you guys with my player previews. I've written 26 and I still have a decent chunk to go here, but we're getting there. Every single day we show you these awesome shirts or tell you about them as well. That dope merch on every single, all the teams that we have. And we're this new release that Nick's ordered and I ordered, and I'm sure you want it too. I love the skyline. I just really do. And I'll mention it one more time. The bean is a perfect touch that really makes that shirt too. Yep. And you get a free shirt when you become a member. Being a member, it's cheaper than Netflix, and you get to support local journalists. So allow us to continue doing what we're doing here. And Nick and I's dream for years is to be able to cover the Bears for a full-time job. And a lot of our listeners like you've made it possible for us. Joining CHGO will help us do that for years to come. And you can join the CHGO Lounge, which is our members only Discord. It's an app and a website that you can use to chat with us privately. I have in different channels, like a Bears chat with all other Bears fans. It's a really neat community. And I know that once we get to the season 2, I'm looking to do, specific mailbags that the questions come specifically from the Discord. And it's just a great place to, talk with us that, it's a little bit more intimate than Twitter or social media in general. And it's a great community to be surrounded by other Bears fans. So head to allchgo.com and just check out, our membership. Again, it's cheaper than Netflix, and you get to support guys like us doing what we love. And we would really appreciate, you here. And I look forward to welcoming you to our family once you join. Exactly. All right. Nick, what do we got left?
Well, nothing. And that's why so that's the thing too. With these shows, there's nothing going on in the offseason. Like we're obviously previewing all these the teams the Bears are going to play, but training camp we don't have to be at training camp till the 23rd. So we're just kind of giving you Bears substance. I know Bears fans love their content and they're loving the preview articles. I'm actually going to have a series coming out tomorrow. That's also going to preview some plays and players from their best and worst games from PFF and give you some of the highlight plays there. So that's going to start tomorrow. But that's what's the I don't know, the good part about these shows. We don't have to go an hour.
That's true.
That is true. Like we've been capping these off in 45 minutes, but we appreciate everyone that tunes in every single day and creates the conversation. But if anybody has maybe some last Bears question before we head out, or whatever, doesn't matter, any kind of question, you could throw them in the chat and we'll answer them here.
I'll jump in and say that there's a lot of people that are upset about the stash, so I put it back. So there you go. Now
I love it.
Technically, that's Magnum PI from the 80s.
Yes,
but I just thought that maybe. I mean, come on, that just looks so much better. What are we doing, Nick? Come on.
I know. I was really enjoying the mustache. Look, okay, so yesterday in the gym, the biggest dude in the gym, I was going to my locker. He comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, what's up?" I'm like, "Oh shit, you're the big guy." I'm like, "What's going on?" He's like, and he points to the mustache. He has a mustache too. I'm like, I like your mustache. He's like, "That's why I'm talking to you." I'm like, "Oh, look at that recognition." Then I laughed because I was kind of scared. But yeah, like people. I don't know why people have interacted with me now that I have the stash. Now no one talks to me anymore. So,
I mean, it's definitely it's a lifestyle. It's definitely a different class of people will talk to you when you have that beautiful mustache.
Apparently, so, I didn't know that was a thing, but it'll be back.
Anyways, bring it back. We need more of it.
I think my family's saying do like a playoff mustache. I'm like, well, with the Bears, like then you'll never see it.
It would be a stubble by the time the run's over too.
Exactly. There wouldn't be anything, so wouldn't last very long.
So real quick, I know we asked for questions. I did see one, and it's not about the Bears though, but it came from Michael wondering, hey, like when we sign up for a membership, like do we get to choose a shirt? And like, hell yeah, you do. Like we're not going to just force one on you. You get a shirt of your choice. Yes, we do. We allow them freedom of choice here. But yeah, you can choose your shirt. You can get any CHGO shirt, whether it be the Bears, any of the teams, the one Nick's wearing, which is one of my favorites as well. But yes, you get to choose your own shirt, and I appreciate you checking and verifying. So hopefully that's enough to entice you to join the fam.
Cody says he wants that mustache back by week 1. Come on.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I could do that. I mean, no, Jonathan. Look, my girlfriend liked the stash. It was my dad of all people. He can't grow a mustache. Like not like mine, at least. So I think that's what it is. Yeah, I think there's a little jealousy there. So yeah, no, the Jonathan girlfriend was opening up to the mustache and everything that was about, but my dad, no more stash.
Come on, Mr. Moreano. Here's a Hendricks question for you before we go. Sorry, this is to Don Burr. I shouldn't even ask this. Sorry.
I do see one from Love Dave that it looks like it's a question for us.
Never mind. Yeah. Sorry, I just saw the question mark. Yeah. Good luck, Don Burr.
You're good. From the one from Love Dave, though, I think a lot of Bears podcasters are talking like improvement is likely in the next year. Not to sound negative, but it seems like a lot of unknowns to stand firmly behind positively. Why? I can speak for myself, and I've been podcasting about this team for 7 years. I try to approach it glass half full. I really do. However, why I'm feeling positive is I do believe they have the right leadership in place. Like I feel that with Nagy, I felt excited yet nervous. The whole tenure, John Fox, we knew was kind of like a Band-Aid at that. But now with Poles and Coach Flus, I really feel like this team has leaders that are respected. And I think that's huge. And something's been missing. And there's a lot of players with potential on this team that are young. And I feel like we have the right guy in place to kind of build around Justin Fields. And maybe a slow march. And next year with all the cap space, they'll be able to bring in whoever they want. And as long as they show some promise this year, Chicago should be a decent destination. If Justin shows he's that guy, if they can win some games here, like those are some reasons why I'm optimistic. On top of like some of my personal favorites, like Dale Lashone Jr., I'm expecting a lot of Byron Pringle. I'm expecting some more out of too. Like there are pieces here. It's just a matter of putting it all together. And I, weirdly enough, have confidence in both the coaching staff and the front office that, hey, we have some capable men who are going to make the right decisions to get us where we need to be.
So how I'll answer this is like this. Yeah, like it's July. Why should we be all pessimistic at this point right now when none of these guys have played games and it's a new coaching staff? There are a lot of unknowns, and we're not going to have answers to any of those questions until the actual season starts. So at this point in time, yeah, maybe the Bears this year are probably not going to be a very competitive team in terms of the win and loss record. That's fine. But moving forward, yeah, I'm going to be more positive at this point in time. Once games are played and we see how the product is, come back. We'll see where we're at. We'll reevaluate. But I do like how it's kind of being constructed with Ryan Poles and Matty Ice. And if you got to trust in Justin Fields, if you don't trust in Justin Fields, then the whole entire organization just changes. And then you could be pessimistic about everything. But yeah, like it's July. Why not be a little bit positive?
I saw Rick Kelly ask, do you think we have a starting side linebacker? So we're looking for a Sam Backer. Do we have it on the roster, or do they need to sign one? I feel like they'll have them on this roster. Matthew Adams is still around for now, right? Like I didn't miss any news over the weekend. I know
he did get arrested or something.
Yeah, Adam and I talked about it. Okay. It was, having a license, but it wasn't Illinois. I feel like he'll still be around. It's not going to be one that he's off the team. He'll be fine. He's someone that can step into that role. They brought in a few other guys as well, and it's a position that's not going to see a lot of snaps anyway because the Bears will basically be in nickel. That's the new base in the NFL. So that's 2 starting backers, which would be Roquan Smith and Nicholas Morrow. And then your Sam guy will be in there more like run heavy downs, obvious run situations. And I don't think they need to go find someone for that. They should be able to identify someone in-house.
I agree with you 100% there, Will.
And I want to address Nomad. He says that shirt looks like a casino rug. I assume he's talking about mine.
It ain't mine.
This is a classy casino rug, if you're asking me. I mean, come on. Palm trees.
Stay right there.
Uh-oh. Nick's leaving us. There goes Nick.
Nick is gone, but it's okay.
Yeah, he just left. I mean, I don't know where
he
went.
he wanted the Owen. Like he
He's
got delivered and he ran. He's like, give me the Owen. Right? That's what you did.
Like, I'm looking at your shirt there, and like this, I mean,
Close.
is it the same? It's a pretty.
I got palm trees on mine.
Okay. I just have paint splatter. Will built, of course, as you know, we are built.
Original penguin over here. So
yeah, I saw you wearing it on Friday, and I was like, I keep getting the ad for that shirt, and I liked it. I'm like, now I can't buy it.
You can get it maybe a different color, but so breathable with this heat. Yeah, it's definitely a must.
That was in studio.
That was another comment we had. Was I forget where it was? He said, "Is it 100 degrees there too?" Oh, it was JR. Is it 100 degrees there today too? It's pretty damn hot. Yeah,
it's muggy and nasty, and want to be inside.
And as we know, the HVAC in studio at CHGO not the best. So congrats on you guys being remote today.
Woohoo! Cody mentioned, I'm like him. We're both positive until our teams hurt us. Yeah. Yes. It happens too often. But as of right now, I'm ready to be hurt again.
I mean, Cody's got 162 games to be hurt again.
Exactly.
It's going to be about 100 this year. So
I don't know what Nomad is mad about. Man, that is awful, Nick.
I believe he means your shirt. I believe he doesn't like our shirts. No, man, you gotta put a little more spice in your shirt game, bro. It's open it up,
spice it up.
Palm trees,
show some chest splatter. Like Lawrence is doing right there.
Yeah, it's again, 100 degrees.
It's hot.
Whatever, man. Couple buttons loose, whatever.
Why not?
I'm not quite the John C. Reilly in the Lakers show. Not that low, but it's all good. All right, well, should we wrap it up here, boys?
Yeah, I think we should put a bow on this episode. I want to thank everyone. First of all, if you tuned in live, thank you. If you're watching the replay,
Jonathan. Look at that.
Hey, Jonathan giving Lawrence some love. Jonathan's a good dude. He's always been around for a year, and he's awesome stuff. So thank you again, everyone who tuned in, whether it's live or a replay, doesn't matter. We really appreciate you checking out the show here on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to our channel that we get notifications every time we go live. Don't forget, get in on the action with the membership at allchgo.com. Get into that Discord, unlock those written articles. Follow us on social, at CHGO_sports, at CHGO_Bears. You can see Nick at Nicholas Moreano. I'm at Will DeWitt. My L's are ones. Rate, review the show wherever you listen to this podcast. We'd appreciate it. And tomorrow it's Nick and Adam back in the studio. What's in the docket, Mr. Moreano?
I have no idea. We haven't created it yet, but it'll be good by maybe this afternoon.
There you have it.
Will there be a mustache? That's my only question.
By tomorrow?
Probably
Friday.
Probably not that good, but
by Friday, Nick says. But Friday, by the way, is the next time that I'll see all of y'all. So have a good rest of your weeks. I'll be watching the show myself. But until next time, bear down, Chicago.